I'm 78 years old. I spent 45 years as a cardiac surgeon. I held over 3,000 human hearts in my hands. And I'm going to tell you something that might make you uncomfortable. I saved strangers. I abandoned my family, not on purpose, not with malice, but the result is the same. You want to know the cruelest irony of my life? I could restart a heart that had stopped beating. I could reroute blood through vessels no thicker than a pencil lead. I could bring people back from the edge of death. I did it hundreds of times. But I couldn't be there when my son hit his first home run. I wasn't there when my daughter learned to ride a bike. I missed my wife's eyes slowly losing their light year after year, dinner after dinner that went cold while she waited. They told me I was a hero. The newspapers said it. My patients' families wept and hugged me and called me a gift from God. I have plaques on my wall, awards, letters from people who say I gave them 20 more years with their father, their mother, their husband, and my own children. They stopped inviting me to things by the time they were teenagers, not out of anger, out of habit. Dad won't be there anyway. They were right. Let me take you back. 1979. I was 33 years old, finishing my fellowship at Johns Hopkins. The world was different then. If you were a surgeon, a real surgeon, the kind who held life and death in your hands, you were expected to sacrifice everything, and I believed it. God help me, I believed every word. I remember standing in the scrub room at 4 a.m, foam up to my elbows, and one of the senior attendings clapped me on the shoulder. Dr. Morton, dead now, 15 years. He said, "Harold, family will always be there, but this," he gestured toward the operating room, "this is where you become eternal." Eternal. I carried that word with me for 45 years like a talisman. My wife, Eleanor, Ellie, I called her, she was 29 when we married. Beautiful, patient, too patient, it turned out. She believed in me before I'd done anything worth believing in. She moved to Baltimore, then Chicago, then Cleveland, following my career. She raised 2 children essentially alone while I was cutting and suturing and becoming eternal. She used to leave little notes in my briefcase. "We miss you. Come home for dinner tonight. The kids want to show you something." I found a box of those notes after she died. Hundreds of them. Some I'd never even opened. Do you understand what I'm telling you? My wife was writing me love letters for 30 years, and I was too busy saving lives to read them. There's a moment that broke me, cracked me right open like a chest under a sternal saw. November 14th, 1996. I remember the date because it's carved into my brain like a scar. My daughter, Rachel, was 15. She'd been in the school play, Our Town, Emily Webb. She'd rehearsed for months. I'd heard her practicing her lines through her bedroom door on the rare nights I was home before midnight. I promised I'd be there. Hand to God, I looked her in the eye that morning over coffee I barely touched and said, "I'll be there, sweetheart." Front row. At 6 p.m., I was scrubbed in for an emergency triple bypass. 47-year-old man, father of 4, massive infarction. If I didn't operate, he'd be dead by morning, so I operated, saved his life. Got home at 11:30. The house was dark. Ellie was sitting at the kitchen table with a glass of wine she'd barely touched. She didn't say anything, just looked at me with these eyes. Not angry, that was the worst part, just tired. defeated. Rachel was already in bed, but her door was open, and I could see she'd been crying. I stood in her doorway, 15 years old, still in her stage makeup, smeared now. She opened her eyes, saw me there, and said, "I'll never forget this." She said, "It's okay, Dad. Someone probably needed you more." She wasn't being sarcastic. That's what destroyed me. She meant it. At 15, my daughter had already learned to rank herself below strangers on my list of priorities. And the worst part, she was right. Here's the lie I told myself. The lie we all tell ourselves, those of us who sacrifice our families on the altar of our careers. I'm doing this for them. The long hours, for them. The missed birthdays, so they can have a nice house. The absent weekends, so they can go to good schools. It's the most elegant lie ever constructed because it makes your selfishness look like sacrifice. It turns your abandonment into nobility. But let me tell you something I learned too late. My children didn't need a nice house. They needed a father who showed up. They didn't need private school tuition. They needed help with their homework on a Tuesday night. They didn't need the reflected glory of a famous surgeon father. They needed someone to teach them to throw a ball, to hold them when they cried, to know them. I gave them everything except myself, and myself was the only thing they actually wanted. You want to know what dying people say? I've been there for hundreds of deaths. I've held hands in the ICU at 3 a.m. I've watched the light leave eyes that had seen 80 years, 50 years, sometimes only 30. Nobody, and I mean nobody, says, "I wish I'd spent more time at work." They say, "Tell my wife I loved her." They say, "I wish I'd been there more for my kids." They say, "I wasted so much time on things that didn't matter." I heard this over and over for 45 years, and I still didn't learn. I was too busy saving them to listen to them. My son Michael is 51 now, lawyer in Seattle, successful by every measure that doesn't matter. We talk maybe 4 times a year, birthdays, Christmas, the occasional awkward phone call where neither of us knows what to say. He came to see me after Ellie died. Flew in for the funeral, stayed 3 days, and on the last night, we sat on the back porch with a bottle of bourbon I'd been saving for God knows what, and he finally said it. "You know, Dad, I spent my whole childhood trying to be sick. I didn't understand. Every time I had a fever, you'd come home early. You'd check on me. You'd sit on the edge of my bed and put your hand on my forehead. Those were the only times I had you to myself." He wasn't crying. That was the worst part. He said it matter-of-factly, like he'd long ago accepted it. "I used to wish I needed surgery," he said. "I thought maybe then you'd really see me." I sat there with my bourbon and my plaques on the wall and my 3,000 saved hearts, and I understood for the first time that I had failed at the only thing that actually mattered. My son wanted me to hold his heart, and I never did. Rachel forgave me, or says she did. She's a pediatrician now, works reasonable hours, makes it to all her kids' events. She married a man who coaches Little League and built a treehouse by hand. She built the opposite of what she grew up with. I should be proud. I am proud. But every time I see her husband at the kitchen table helping with homework, I feel something twist in my chest. Not a medical condition. I've had it checked. Just regret. Just the ghost of what could have been. Ellie died 3 years ago. Pancreatic cancer, brutal and fast. 4 months from diagnosis to the end, I was there, finally, every day. I held her hand. I read to her. I told her all the things I should have said for 50 years. And one night, near the end, when the morphine was making her drift in and out, she grabbed my hand with more strength than I thought she had left and said, "I waited for you, Harold. My whole life, I waited." Then she said, "I'm glad you're here now." She died 2 days later. "I'm glad you're here now." Not, "I'm glad you were always here." Not, "Thank you for the life we built together." "I'm glad you're here now." 53 years of marriage, and the best she could say was that I finally showed up at the end. So here's what I need you to understand. And I'm not asking you, I'm telling you, with whatever authority a 78-year-old man with too many regrets has earned. Your career is not your legacy. Your job title will be forgotten 6 months after you retire. Your salary will mean nothing when they're reading your eulogy. The late nights, the working weekends, the just one more project that turns into 10 more years of absence, nobody will thank you for it. Not your spouse, not your children, not even yourself, sitting alone in an empty house with nothing but plaques and silence. I want you to do something for me. Tonight, not tomorrow, not next week, tonight, I want you to put down whatever you're working on, close the laptop, leave the email for morning, and I want you to look at the people you love. Really look at them. Your children are not going to stay young. That window is already closing, and you can't feel it shut until it's locked forever. Your spouse is not going to wait forever. That light in their eyes, it can dim, it can go out, and you won't even notice because you're too busy being successful. Stop telling yourself you'll make it up to them later. Later doesn't exist. There is only now. There is only tonight. There is only this dinner, this bedtime, this Saturday morning that you could spend working or you could spend being a father. The operating room will still be there Monday. Your child's first steps won't wait. I held 3,000 hearts in my hands. I know exactly what the human heart looks like, what it feels like, how much it weighs, roughly 300 grams for the record. But I didn't know what my wife's heart needed. I didn't know that my son's heart was breaking. I didn't know that my daughter's heart was learning, year by year, that she wasn't worth my time. I could repair a mitral valve with phonoprolene sutures, but I couldn't fix what I had broken in my own home. If I could go back, if I could stand in that scrub room in 1979 and grab that young man by the shoulders, here's what I'd tell him. You are not eternal. You are not even close. The patients you save will forget your name within a decade. Their families will send you Christmas cards for a few years, then move on with their lives, as they should. But your children will remember every absence. They will carry it with them into their own marriages, their own parenting, their own operating rooms and courtrooms and classrooms. You are not building a legacy in that hospital. You are building a ghost story. You are becoming the father who wasn't there. Go home. For God's sake, Harold, go home. I'm 78. My hands shake now. Couldn't hold a scalpel if I wanted to. I live in this big house that Ellie and I bought when we thought we'd fill it with grandchildren running around. It's quiet now. Michael calls on my birthday. Rachel visits. Twice a year, brings the kids, stays 3 days. They're polite, loving, even, in the way you love someone you never really knew. I saved 3,000 lives, and I'm going to die knowing I wasn't there for the 4 lives that mattered most. But here's the thing, I'm telling you this because you still have time. You're watching this, and your children are still young, or your spouse is still waiting, or your parents are still alive, and you keep meaning to call. You have what I would give anything to have back. You have now, so please, I'm begging you, don't let your eternal legacy be the same as mine. Don't be a hero to strangers and a stranger to your family. Don't hold 3,000 hearts and neglect the 4 that beat for you. The operating room, the office, the courtroom, the boardroom, they will take everything you give them. They are bottomless. They will never say, "That's enough, Harold. Go be with your family." You have to say it. You have to choose. It's 7:14 p.m. on a Thursday as I'm sitting here recording this. Somewhere a surgeon is scrubbing in for an emergency procedure, and somewhere a kid is looking at the door hoping this time Dad will come home. I know which one I was. I know which one you might be. Choose differently. If this reached you, if something in this old man's voice made you stop and think for even a minute, do something about it. Not tomorrow, tonight. Call your kids. Hold your spouse. Put the phone down at dinner and be there. Because the hearts you're supposed to save aren't in the operating room. They're at your kitchen table. They've been waiting for you to show up, and they won't wait forever. I'm Dr. Harold Brennan. I'm 78 years old. I saved 3,000 lives, and the only ones that mattered I almost lost. Don't make my mistake.